Hi, my name is Schell Gower. I am a StoryBrand certified guide and the owner of the company Clearmark. I work with a lot of companies, helping them with their messaging and their marketing. And for some of them, I even help them coach. So they want to do it on their own, but they need another person to kind of come alongside them and make sure they're doing it right, or to get some added benefit from having a coach there to walk alongside them. So I do that as well with companies.
Awesome. And I'm Tina Smith, owner of Creative LLC, and we do creative websites. But right now we're building the most understandable technical website courses around. So we're going to talk a little bit about messaging though today, because I am also the artist formerly known as a StoryBrand certified guide. And I want to dig in with Schell to give us some expertise on some of the biggest mistakes that people make when using the StoryBrand framework, first overall, and then component by component. So why don't we just hop in?
Hey there, sorry to interrupt, but are you liking this content? Is it something that you're benefiting from? Are you learning something and growing a little bit from this content? If the answer to any of those questions is yes, do me a favor, hit that like button so the algorithm will send this out to more people just like you, so that we can all build more profitable businesses and do more life together. Thanks for watching.
Let's start with the character. What do you see biggest things going wrong? # fails with the character.
# fails. I think the biggest thing that people don't take into consideration is, and this is often where I come across the character issue, is they talk about who they want to serve, but they're not talking about what's bringing them in the money. So, everybody wants the woman between the ages of 30 and 45. So generic. Instead, it's what's your biggest money revenue builder? What is bringing in the most cash, and then who is that person? Where I see the biggest mistake is they're too broad or too general when it comes to the character, and what that leads to is a more broad and generic message that doesn't allow them to stand out. So I really try to dive deep and ask a lot of whys. I tell people I why to death until you hate answering the why. But what inevitably happens is that we really drill down and get to who is it that you're trying to serve? Who is your ideal customer? Because everybody can't be your ideal customer.
Yeah, I think that's really part of the key, right? Is that we're talking about ideal customer or client, and it doesn't mean that you can't serve anyone else. It's not excluding other people, although sometimes it will. But a lot of times, we always joke the riches are in the niches. And when you niche down and really laser focus on someone, then you attract that person, but you can still attract other people in there. And so sometimes people forget you're not wholly excluding other people from coming to your table and being served, but you are really going to be speaking to the person that you want coming to the table again and again.
Right. It allows you to be so focused that you're going to get the people on the outside anyway. But to your point, the more niche you are, the clearer the copy and the content is going to be around that ideal person, and you're going to organically draw the right people to your business.
Yeah, and I just want to highlight that you keep saying something like what's bringing the most revenue to your business, and we can talk revenue or margin, but the point is dialing in on what maximizes your profitability and building on the best first. And then you can dig in and say, okay, here's some lower performing things that maybe we want to build a landing page on, and we have a separate brand script for it. But starting out with the most bang for your buck, because we talk about these exponential increases. And of course, as percentages, a percentage of a bigger number is a bigger number. So if we grow off of a bigger number, it's going to inflate that ROI for our clients, which is why we start there. The customer want. What goes wrong there?
It's too up here. So what do they want? To be happy.
Right.
What do they want? I think people, in the coaching that I've done with businesses, from WNBA teams, in the StoryBrand workshops, all the way down to like individuals, they overcomplicate what they want. What do they want? A WNBA team, they want to be entertained. That's really what they want, right? If I have a leak, I want a plumber.
Yes. And one of the things that one of our dear friends, Macy Robeson, talks about a lot is in the customer want, what is it that people Google to find your product or service? So, and we talk a lot in the StoryBrand framework about clarifying. So being very clear. And a lot of people want to get super creative. And one of the things we always talk about is get clear and then be creative, not the other way around. Because if you confuse, you lose. That's what Don always says. And part of what we're talking about is there gets to be some confusion with the transformation, I think, versus the want. So they want to be somebody, and that's important. We want to talk about that and hit on it. But especially on a website, when you've got 3 seconds or less to engage, that you need to say exactly what it is you provide. So you're right. They want to be happy. How do you make that happen?
Right. And I think that's where why a lot of times I think as guides or as marketers, we sometimes skip that step, which is, what is that transformation that you want? And I think that's important. When you're talking about that, is at the front end is like, what is the transformation you're looking to achieve? Right. And then making sure as we go into, okay, so if that's what they want to achieve, if this is the transformation that we're hoping to get, then what do they want to get them there?
Yeah.
Right.
So
if we know what the transformation is, then we know it can help us really nail down what they're going to Google, right? Or what they really want.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about transformation. That's at the bottom of the brand script. It's generally where I start. Who do they want to be? Tell me from your perspective, how does that most go awry?
I think for the most part, again, it's just kind of, they either overthink it, right? So it's usually, okay, here's the problem, here's where they are now, and then here's where they want to be. And because it's the first thing that we talk about, it kind of rattles off the tongue, or maybe, this makes sense. And then as we start diving into the actual brand script, I have found that sometimes we end up going back to the transformation and really making that tighter. So it's more high level. And then as we're working through the brand script, as we're talking about, okay, who is your ideal audience? What is it that they want? Then they're like, okay, well, if they want that, then is this transformation going to happen? Because if it's not going to happen with what they solving that want, then let's go back and let's change this part first, and then we'll go back.
So one of the things that you're talking about is you might overcomplicate it up front. So don't overthink it. Let's just put something on paper that we think generally applies, but then don't get stuck on it, because you might come back and revise so that the story makes sense, which is a little bit about coherence, right?
Really, the transformation of a character is really kind of our gut check. Did we do this brand script? Does this flow and make sense to equal this transformation? And if it doesn't, then where do we mess up, and go back and make sure that we clarify that more?
Yeah, when we're talking about transformation, a lot of times we use things like, what would you want your family to say about you after, or what would you want your friends to say about you after you've used this product or service? But sometimes then you get into the product and service and you're like, wait a second, that's not actually what you provide. Then you go rework the transformation. So it is this, because it's a framework, it all should fit together. And so part of our jobs in helping people flesh out their story is, okay, we start here, we put things on paper, but then we're going to come back and make sure it all still ties together.
Right.
Okay, that's the need. And then what's the problem that they're having? So talk to me about problem. And I know there's 3 things. So we've got external, internal, and philosophical. touch on all of those. How do they break down and go wrong? Biggest
Sure.
mistakes you see people make.
Absolutely. So on the external, I always say external is obvious, right? It's the obvious thing that they're trying to solve. Again, very similar to what they Google. What is that problem that they're trying to solve? That is, and it's really, again, it goes back to, it's really simple. Don't overcomplicate that problem piece. But I always say in the internal, don't just leave it with like a word or 3 words. Why? Again, I go back to why it to death. If you're feeling overwhelmed, why? What is the emotion? Give me some more backing in that emotional pull on that internal problem that helps set the stage. Another thing that I see as guides, and even I've been guilty of myself, is lots of problems. If you've got a company that does 3 and 4 and 5 different things, sometimes it's really easy to come up with multiple problems. And our job, and sometimes we even struggle with, is how do you do that like all of these are problems. They're all equal problems. So how do we narrow that down into one thing that we're talking about? Because that creates a clear and concise message. So if what they want is this one thing, and this is what we've nailed down, this is the one thing that they want, then is this problem going to solve that? And if it doesn't, then let's go back and let's rework it.
Yeah. And I think that's the one that I rework the most often, is the problem section. Sometimes what I like to do is build multiple brand scripts and just follow that logic all the way through, and then read through them, or even toss them to my audience and say, which one is your biggest struggle? Like if I could solve one of these things, that's the one that I need to solve, and it can help you work through that. I was just going to highlight on the internal problem piece of it. We talk a lot about feelings, and hardly anyone gets this right. Like a feeling word, and we'll say like words that are not feelings come out every time that I'm working with clients to be like, and how did that make them feel? And they'll say a lot of words and there are no feeling words in them. So I like to remind people, feel free to Google feeling word lists. There are lots of them out there. A lot of psychologists have actually posted things like this. Even the emojis, like go look at the emojis, and the list of what they actually are expressing is generally a feeling. So use your iPhone or whatever, Android, but look at the emojis, and that is what we're looking for. We want a feeling word there. And then ultimately test. This is the same thing, even with the need part. Like, what do people Google? Even like, who do they want to be? Test. Yeah. We don't always have the answer. You might not know yet as the business owner. And you just test these things over and over until you get it right. And it's never finished. That's the other thing about brand scripts. Like, they're never done. And that is frustrating for some people who need to like check the box. But it's an organic thing that you've got to constantly rework depending on circumstances change, your audience changes, or maybe just their needs change. So,
and that's where
test and rework.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to, what I said earlier, which is it's the practice of marketing. And that's what we do as marketers it's constant testing. It's putting stuff out there, getting feedback from your audience and coming back and going, that was great. Let's keep doing more of it. Or, hey, that wasn't that great. Let's go back and let's look, where did we screw up? Was it in the title? Was it in or is the messaging all wrong? And do we need to go back to the drawing board? And that's okay, right? That's okay. That's what we do.
That people can get so married to this framework that they stifle their creativity. And the thing is, they go hand in hand. You do want to get clear first, abide by the framework, but then play your music the way that you play it, because only you can sound like you. And that's what we want to hear. So we want some creativity and playfulness in there. All right, let's move to what's next. Authority.
Yes. Empathy and authority. Why did I go like yes?
I know. We're like doing the framework in our heads. Empathy and authority.
It's up here. We've gone up to the top.
That's why I was like, da, da, da. Here we are. Empathy and authority.
Mhm.
What goes wrong?
Everybody loves to talk about themselves, but they forget the empathy part,
Yeah.
right? So the empathy part is critical to letting them know, you get it, you understand. I think one of my favorite quotes right now is by Rory Vaden, and he says, "You're best suited to serve the person you once were." And so when you can think of yourself as like, you built this business, you created this business to solve a problem because you saw a need, and you're seeing that need all the time. So give some empathy, let them know, hey, I get it.
Yeah. So,
They're like,
and sometimes when you
"Ah."
start talking about, here are all my awards, and I've been working with these big companies, and like those things start to build a chasm between you and your audience if there is no empathy in there. You can talk
Right.
about those things as long as you're like, no, I see you person, and I get you and where you are. And
Right.
now I'm here. And so
Mhm.
I can help you get there too. So that's the whole guide thing.
Yeah. Well, the guide and authority piece,
Okay.
just to kind of tie those two together, is like once you give them that piece of empathy, I always try to remind, the biggest thing that I see is they do want to do a laundry list of awards and presentations. And I've been doing this since 1987.
Mhm.
And so we have combined years experience of 27,000 years. And that's great. And authority can be not just about you, really. It can be more about, hey, here's a testimonial from one of our clients.
Yeah.
Here's the industries that we've served with or been in. Those are things that add to your credibility, but they're also just little bitty pieces that you need on your website. You don't have to have a lot. And I think sometimes the biggest mistake that I see is they would just want to cram it full of authority pieces.
But a lot of times we put all these acronyms or credentials or things after our names or in our bios that the audience that we're speaking to does not care, and sometimes is even a turnoff to them. So I think this is the point where you have to be really in touch with your people to know who they are and what is important to them and what makes them feel like you're one of them.
The plan, it's simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Another issue that I see is sometimes we just keep beating people over the head with, and I know we'll get to this in a minute with failure and stuff. It's like, just don't go in circles. Like, just let's make it clean. Start at the top with success and move our way down to what success looks like at the end. And if we keep going in a failure wheel, or in the negative wheel, or in the problem wheel, then what happens is no one ever sees the way out, and so they leave.
Yeah. And by the way, I think I just want to hit here that failure and problem are not synonymous. Like,
No.
there is a problem getting them from what they want their future to be like from where they are right now. But that is not failure. Failure is if they don't take a step forward toward that better future, the following things happen in their life. And so what we're saying is, don't too much paint that bleak future if they don't. You want to do it a little bit, you want to hit it, but that shouldn't be what the entire message is about. The entire message should be about that picture of success. And that really is a lot about how you can get failure and success done right, and things that can go wrong with failure and success. So let's just cap it all off with a call to action, because that becomes, in a lot of ways, one of the most important pieces that are on your website. And we've got transitional, call to action, and direct. So tell me what you see going wrong with both of those.
Yeah, I mean, it's not direct. A direct call to action should be direct. You have to think of that direct, and that's a conversation I'm sure you've had with clients too. Are like, oh, that seems so harsh. And I want to say to them, you have to imagine that the person who's going to click that direct call to action button has either been to your website before, or you've done a great job of perfectly describing their pain and their problem, and that you have the solution, that they're ready to book now, call now, buy now, right? So it is an action. It is a command. It's a command statement. The indirect call to action, give them something of value.
Right.
like legitimately value. I mean, we've all downloaded something, right?
Yeah.
And you look at it and you're like, I don't even understand what this is.
Yeah. What a waste of time, I think, a lot of times.
Yes. And now I'm going to get your email spam for the next month and a half until I finally go, fine, forget it. Like I'm going to unsubscribe from you. So anytime we are using a transitional call to action, you want it to be powerful, informative, something that people really, really want. So it doesn't have to be really complicated PDF. But you want it to be impactful, you want it to be powerful, and you want it to make a difference in the person's life some way. That's what I think is a good transitional call to action.
Yeah. Sweet. I think we did it.
I mean, that's the best part. I mean, really, the framework is fantastic because it helps you nail down and kind of bottom line get the answers to the script.
Yeah.
But like you said, throw it in a brand script. If it doesn't make sense and you're having to change too many words, then we need to go back and adjust some stuff in the script or in the framework.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so that's it. And if someone needs some coaching on their brand script, or if they want a brand script from a StoryBrand certified guide, how do they find you?
Hey, so you can find me at clearmark.io. That is my website. And if you just send me an email, it says, let's talk, and you say, hey, I want a brand script, let me know and I can connect with you and get that taken care of. Or you can follow me on the socials. My favorite socials right now are LinkedIn, Schell Gower on LinkedIn, or on Instagram. I'm on others, but those are my favorites.
Yeah, but you also, so here's a thing that I talk about a lot with, especially some of my newer clients who want to do this themselves, but they just need a little coaching. You have hourly rates as well that will help them button it all up and get it really singing.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you have a brand script that you have gone through, whether you've gone through the live workshop or you've taken the BMSU StoryBrand kind of course, and you're looking at your brand script and you're wondering, hey, did I get it right? Is this dialed in tight enough for me to actually go and execute? Or I need to be able to throw this in a Mad Lib and make sure that it makes sense. I do offer coaching at an hourly rate. Either a one-off, just a 1 hour session, or if you want help with executing on the back end of saying, hey, now that I have the script, I'm going to try to build all this up myself, then I do offer hourly coaching rates and bundled packages to make sure that you get it right. And so that you are able to execute it yourself without having to wonder, is this clear? Does this make sense? Am I putting things in the right places?
Yeah, especially you put a lot of time and effort and money into this StoryBrand framework. So just have an expert that does this all the time. Look it over and say, check, check, check. You got it right.
Right.
Schell can do that for you.
And it would be my pleasure. I love serving people and helping them really use this framework to its maximum and be able to help their business and their brand.
All right, cool. All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Oh my gosh, you reached the end. Congratulations and thanks for watching. One quick question before you go. Did you find this interesting? Do you think someone else that you know could benefit from the information you heard here today? Well, do me a favor, hit the like button and subscribe and hit that bell so you can get notifications for when more of this information comes out. By hitting like, it means that this content goes out to other people just like you who might also be able to benefit from this information and can build a more profitable business so they can do more life. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.